In 2015, Shia LaBeouf and his entire acting career turned into an overnight meme because of one video. It quietly marked the beginning of his collapse. Footage of Shia screaming, "Just do it," tore through the internet. Within days, clips from the manic 30-minute green screen monologue were everywhere. At first, everyone laughed. On the surface, it seemed harmless, just another bizarre viral moment. Most people assumed it was performance art or some kind of failed creative stunt. But behind the scenes, something darker was unfolding. This was the public unraveling of a child actor who'd been on millions of screens his entire life. Up until then, Shia had been Hollywood's golden boy, the relatable kid audiences grew up with in movies like Holes and Transformers. But beneath those performances were glimpses of the tragedy that was waiting to surface. In the years after Just Do It, the roles started to disappear, but the headlines didn't. Rehab stints, arrests, allegations of abuse, the controversies piled up as his career fell apart, and Shia wasn't alone. His story fits a familiar Hollywood pattern. Child stars built up, broken down, and discarded, often under unsettling circumstances. From his highest highs to his darkest lows, Shia LaBeouf's fall became one of the industry's most haunting cautionary tales. Shia LaBeouf was born and raised in Los Angeles as an only child. His father, a Vietnam veteran and sex offender struggling with addiction, worked as a professional clown, while his mother, a hippie-type artist and dancer, earned a living through her creative work. In their own considerably unconventional ways, both parents relied on performance to survive. As Shia later put it, "My family's lineage is 5 generations of artists who never made it." His first performance came when he was just 2 years old. Although it wasn't on television or in a theater, it was at a park. To make ends meet, the LaBeoufs performed as street clowns. Shia's father stole a maid cart from a hotel, decorated it, and filled it with hot dogs and shaved ice before heading out with his family to perform. Shia later recalled, "I hated selling hot dogs. I hated dressing up in clown. But the minute somebody would buy into my thing and buy a hot dog from my family because of my shtick, my parents would look at me like, 'All right, man.' Besides performing, I've never had that validation from anything else I've ever done in my life." As strange as it may seem, these moments would plant the seed for his future career in entertainment. However, things changed when his parents divorced. For a time, Shia lived with his mother, who kept them afloat by selling fabrics and brooches. Money was tight, so much so that at one point, his uncle nearly adopted him, but somehow they managed to hold on. Shia's upbringing remained far from normal. He often described his parents as hippies, his father as tough as nails, and his mother eccentric and free-spirited. Their home life reflected that disorder. His mother frequently invited her nudist friends over, which left Shia feeling understandably embarrassed. "All of them would just be naked around the house," he said. "That was strange for me, and it was really bizarre when my friends were there. You've got your little buds over, and mom's like playing naked, connect the dots or whatever." When he wasn't at his mother's place, he was with his father tagging along to Rolling Stones concerts and AA meetings, where at age 10, he learned to smoke and play cards.
Your dad really didn't behave like a father at all.
Yeah, he was my dude. He was like a buddy.
Yeah, but not in a well,
not the best
Not
buddy.
in a good way, yeah.
He's like a buddy.
His father's lifestyle ended up taking a darker turn. Years of substance abuse led to rehab for heroin addiction. During this time, Shia stayed with his mother, who did her best but struggled to hold down the fort. The family's stress and instability reached a breaking point when, at just 10 years old, Shia tragically overheard his mother being raped in their motel, a severe trauma that would stay with him for life. Like many who've experienced deep pain, Shia turned to art as an outlet. He started performing stand-up comedy, joking that his act was a 50-year-old mouth on a 10-year-old body. At 11, determined to take things further, he flipped through a phone book, found an agent's number, and pretended to be his own manager to set up a meeting. When the agent called back, Shia dropped the act and performed a short routine over the phone. His confidence and timing were so sharp that the agent signed him on the spot. That same agent, who still works with him today, became a lifeline, paying for headshots, driving him to auditions, and even covering the family's rent when they couldn't afford it. For a brief time, things began to stabilize. Around age 12, Shia went to live with his father again, hoping for something closer to a normal home life. But, at least according to the version of events he shared for years, the opposite happened. He said his father's erratic behavior resurfaced almost immediately, creating moments of real fear, including one incident where, during a Vietnam flashback, his father allegedly pointed a gun at him. Despite this, Shia stayed focused on performing. Acting became both his escape and his lifeline, a way to process the pain and help his family survive. Over the next few years, Shia started landing small acting jobs, commercials, bit parts, and one-off TV appearances. In 1998, he made his on-screen debut in Caroline in the City, followed by guest roles in shows like The X-Files and Freaks and Geeks. It was all self-taught. He'd never taken a formal acting lesson. Everything came from instinct, timing, and pure determination.
You have never had a formal acting lesson?
Not really. No. Just sort of jumped in and everything started working, and like I booked my first 3 auditions and it just stumbled and happened. I swear to God, this all just happened.
These early roles provided a lifeline for his family's financial struggles, but his real breakout came when Disney cast him as the lead in Even Stevens. For 3 years, the show gave him steady work through 65 episodes and growing fame. And eventually, the industry took notice. At just 16, Shia earned a Daytime Emmy for his performance.
Oh my God. 16 got an Emmy, what the hell? Wow. I don't know, oh my God, I don't know who to thank. I don't know how to breathe, I don't know, oh my God. This is absolutely crazy. Involved with Even Stevens, I'm so happy. I haven't gotten the wrap up yet, I'm just kind of stalling. Oh my God, this is crazy. There's the wrap it up, thank you.
After Even Stevens, his career took an even bigger step up. He landed his first major film role in Disney's Holes, a box office success that earned over $70 million on a $20 million budget.
You thirsty, Stanley?
Yes, Mr. Sir.
Well, you better get used to it. You're gonna be thirsty for the next 18 months.
With every project, his trajectory pointed higher, and the industry saw him as one of Hollywood's most promising young talents. But success came with a shift. The once humble kid from a struggling family began showing flashes of arrogance, confidence that bordered on cockiness.
You're such a nice guy. I've never seen a guest clean their seat before they sit down. It's very nice of you.
Well, I mean, this isn't David Letterman. Some of the furniture's a little old, I thought maybe.
It is, yeah. He's got the good stuff.
Well, Stolen Summer was, a hunk of garbage. That was the first one that they made. And then this one turned out to be
Wait a minute, so the one that you weren't in and had no involvement in is a hunk of garbage?
Right, the one that my name is not on is the piece of crap. Mine, however, is a golden nugget charmer.
Right. That's one of the least likable things anybody's ever seen.
Yeah.
Shia was rising fast, but the first cracks were beginning to show. After Holes, the offers started pouring in. Over the next few years, he appeared in major studio films like Dumb and Dumberer, Charlie's Angels, I, Robot, Constantine, Bobby, Disturbia, and Surf's Up. He shared the screen with actors like Will Smith, Keanu Reeves, Nick Cannon, Lawrence Fishburne, and Elijah Wood, all while contributing to box office totals in the hundreds of millions. But that rise would soon be eclipsed by what came next. In 2007, Shia landed the lead role in Transformers as Sam Witwicky, a character whose chaotic energy seemed to mirror his own.
No! Mojo, off the robot!
The film debuted at #1 in North America, earning more than $70 million in its opening weekend and $152 million by the end of its first week, far exceeding studio expectations. By the end of its run, it had grossed around $320 million domestically and over $700 million worldwide, becoming the highest-grossing film in several countries at the time. Shia was now at the center of a global franchise.
My producer, Ian Bryce, said to me, you should get this kid Shia. And I said, I thought he was older. So he came in and he actually looked like a 16-year-old. What I like about Shia is he's the everyday dude, but he's great at improv, and he's got a great comic wit.
Shia is one of the funniest people, just naturally. It's hard to get through scenes with him sometimes, though, because he's so good at improv, and he gets, funnier and funnier as he goes.
Shia's momentum didn't stop with Transformers. A year later, he starred alongside Harrison Ford in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, directed by Steven Spielberg. The film outperformed Transformers at the box office, earning nearly $800 million worldwide, and became the most financially successful installment in the Indiana Jones franchise. While Shia wasn't the main character, he was widely seen as the heir to the series, with some outlets even calling him the next Tom Hanks. At this point, Shia's life looked unstoppable. He'd broken a generational cycle of poverty, was famous worldwide, and had become one of the most in-demand young actors in Hollywood. But behind the scenes, something darker was starting to surface. Years of buried trauma and mounting pressure began to show. In 2007, Shia was arrested after a confrontation with a neighbor. He was accused of threatening the man with a knife. Before that, his only arrests were as a young teenager for stealing a Game Boy and a pair of sneakers, and he'd managed to stay out of trouble for nearly a decade. But after this, the incidents began to escalate. Later that same year, he was arrested again after repeatedly returning intoxicated to a Chicago Walgreens and refusing to leave, a story he would later joke about during an appearance on Letterman.
Again, as I'm walking out, I'm like, I forgot the cigarettes. So I go back upstairs, I wait for a little while, I'm like, well, I gotta go back down. I gotta get these cigarettes.
Sure.
So I throw on a hoodie. So I go back down, and I got the hoodie on, he goes, really? 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 And I'm like, yeah, really. He goes, well, what are you doing here? I go, well, buddy, it's your worst nightmare. And then another security guard friend of his, because they're all friends there, you know, tackles me, puts me in these plastic handcuffs.
Tackles you.
You know, like a delicate, lay down.
Like
tackle
a delicate lay down,
so
sure.
I say tackle. He was completely in the right. I was a moron. He gave me the handcuffs. I went to the police station with the pimple cream on my head. And you can't look tough with the pimple cream at the station.
He told it like a funny story, but privately, it was anything but. Shia was coping with emotional pain and pressure through drinking, and the consequences were becoming more serious each time. In 2008, he was arrested for drunk driving after rolling his car in an accident. In 2011, he was arrested again after a bar fight. And while this would be his final arrest for a few years, his career itself was facing problems of its own. Just 2 years after the release of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Shia revealed that he thought the movie was terrible and blamed it in part on Steven Spielberg. Harrison Ford responded by calling Shia a fucking idiot, arguing that actors have a responsibility to stand by their films. Spielberg didn't speak out publicly, but Shia later shared something the director told him in private. He told me there's a time to be a human being and have an opinion, and there's a time to sell cars. It killed my spirits because this was a dude I looked up to like a sensei. After that, Spielberg quietly distanced himself. Then, Shia began publicly criticizing the Transformers franchise as well, alienating studios and collaborators. Tensions grew on set, relationships broke down, and audiences watched as one of Hollywood's brightest young stars slowly unraveled before their eyes. By this point, the career that once fueled Shia's hunger wasn't enough anymore. He had more money and success than he'd ever imagined, and without that same drive pushing him forward, what followed was a bizarre era of scandals, arrests, and full-blown memification. In 2013, a pattern of plagiarism began to emerge. Shia was fired from his first Broadway play, Orphans, after clashing with co-star Alec Baldwin. He tried to make amends by tweeting a photo of an apology email, but fans quickly realized the message had been copied from a 2009 Esquire article titled, "What is a Man?" When he apologized for that plagiarism, he did it again, this time lifting lines from playwright David Mamet without credit. But that's not all. Shia's directorial debut, the short film HowardCantor.com, had premiered at Cannes Critics Week in 2012. When it was released online the following year, viewers immediately recognized entire scenes lifted from a graphic novel by Daniel Close. Close told BuzzFeed he had never given permission, never met Shia, and was shocked to see his work copied almost frame for frame.
He so perfectly gets how we're all like these aliens to one another, who never have any meaningful contact with one another because we're all so caught up in our little self-made realities, you know?
Oops. Could you read the same exact word for word?
But it didn't stop there. Shia apologized for stealing Clo's work, but even that apology was plagiarized, lifted word for word from a Yahoo Answers post, and the pattern kept going. He began releasing his own comic books, and fans quickly discovered that large sections were taken from writers like Charles Bukowski and Benoit Dutertre. His follow-up apologies borrowed lines from Tiger Woods, Kanye West, and Mark Zuckerberg. He even went so far as to hire a plane to skywrite his apology to Close across the Los Angeles sky. Beyond that, he copied text from other sources for his website, and a growing list of smaller plagiarisms kept piling up. But copying wasn't the only strange behavior. In 2014, Shia walked the red carpet at the Berlin Film Festival with a paper bag over his head that read, "I am not famous anymore."
The recently embattled actor stars in Lars von Trier's new film, Nymphomaniac, and earlier in the day had stormed out of a press conference when asked about its explicit sex scenes.
When the seagulls follow the trawler, it is because they think sardines will be thrown into the sea. Thank you very much.
Leaving his co-star Christian Slater to decipher what he meant.
Then came #IamSorry. Inside a Los Angeles gallery, Shia sat silently at a table, wearing the same paper bag that read, "I am not famous anymore." Visitors entered one by one. Some said he was crying beneath the mask. Others said he barely spoke, or didn't speak at all. It felt like the public meltdown everyone had been waiting for. But behind the memes and headlines was something darker, a drinking problem that was spiraling out of control. That same year, Shia was arrested after a drunken outburst at a Broadway performance of Cabaret. Witnesses said he was smoking inside and shouting obscenities until police escorted him out during intermission. Things only got worse on the way to the station. He reportedly shouted, "This is fucking bullshit. Do you know my life? Do you know who I am?" And even spit on an officer, so they placed a mask over his face. As part of his plea deal, he entered rehab, and like he did before, he laughed through the story during a late-night interview, this time with Jimmy Kimmel.
Anyway, we get to intermission, and a person tells me there's another party outside, and I'm thinking, oh, well, okay. And I see 6 cops having their own party, anyways, they wind up taking me to the station. Oh, man.
His addiction was only getting worse. That same year, Shia starred in Fury, and headlines focused less on the film and more on his extreme method acting. Reports claimed he refused to shower for months, cut his own face to make real scars, and even had a tooth removed. It wasn't dedication, it was self-destruction. Then came Just Do It.
Do it! Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
The viral meme originated from a 31-minute art experiment with Shia delivering intense monologues written by film students. But combined with everything else he was doing, it looked like a cry for help. And the chaos didn't stop. Later in 2015, he was arrested again. This time at the Austin City Limits Music Festival, after witnesses said he was extremely drunk and running through traffic. He was taken into custody and later released. Over the year that followed, things calmed down. That was until 2017, when he launched the protest livestream, He Will Not Divide Us, an art project outside the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens, New York. The setup was simple, a camera mounted on a wall, streaming 24/7, where anyone could step up and repeat the phrase, "He will not divide us." It was meant to last for the entire Trump presidency. Instead, it became a magnet for internet trolls. Within days, far-right agitators began showing up to provoke him on camera.
Hey, Shia. Hey. What's up?
Bang, bang.
Did nothing wrong.
Shia reportedly shoved the man, then scratched him, and he was arrested on stream.
And you can see LaBeouf yelling into the camera after this scuffle, which takes place off camera. He allegedly pushes a 25-year-old Bronx man, then grabs his scarf and scratched him in the process.
The charges were later dropped, but the movement became a target for relentless harassment. Trolls tracked and sabotaged each new version of the project as it moved from New York to New Mexico, then Tennessee, and eventually overseas. In the end, He Will Not Divide Us was shut down entirely. But Shia's legal troubles weren't over. Later that same year, he was arrested again, this time in Georgia, after allegedly screaming at a stranger who refused to give him a cigarette. He was charged with disorderly conduct, public drunkenness, and obstruction before posting bail.
What did I do, sir? Bro, why are you yelling my face? I have rights. I have rights. I'm an American. Come on, talk to me. You got me in my hotel, arrested me in my hotel for doing what, sir? Let's go. Yo, you really got these cuffs on me heavy, bro. I'll fix yours. Let me out. Listen, can we talk, me and you? No, we can't talk nothing. Listen, I'm not the one that American. Okay. I pay my taxes. Get these off my arms. So we're not gonna have a conversation? No. Okay. You gonna put these off my arms, or you be fucked. Who you fighting for? You got a president that don't give a about you, and you stuck in a police force that don't give a about you. So you want to arrest white people who ask for cigarettes? I came up to you trying to be nice, you stupid. I came up to you asking for a cigarette, you dumb. Why would I ask for a cigarette if I was racist, you stupid? I was asking for a cigarette, you said no. I said word, and then you arrested me, you dumb.
For what? Arrest me for what, bitch? What's your charges, you little whore? The you think it is? You're a dummy, bitch. And I can feel your gun on my hand. Why don't you move away from me?
Why don't you move away from me? That's a tap, like get away. Yeah, it is, you stupid bitch.
You feel good about life? You feel patriotic about this?
He later apologized, writing, "I am actively taking steps towards securing my sobriety and hope I can be forgiven for my mistakes." After the Georgia arrest, Shia entered court-ordered rehab. By the time he completed the program, the 31-year-old actor finally began speaking openly about how far his life had spiraled. He admitted his outbursts were failures, signs, as he put it, that he'd been falling forward his entire life. He said he needed to take real responsibility for the damage he'd caused before he could ever work again. During treatment, Shia was diagnosed with PTSD connected to childhood trauma, specifically the night he overheard his mother being assaulted. Alcohol had always been his escape, and without it, he was forced to confront the pain he'd spent years trying to drown. But after hitting rock bottom, it seemed like he was finally climbing back up. In 2019, Shia released Honey Boy, a film he wrote in rehab, inspired by the trauma that shaped him. Playing a version of his father, he relived the memories that had haunted him and began putting his darkest moments into context. Critics called it the best performance of his career. Honey Boy holds a 94% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and earned him the Hollywood Film Award for screenwriting.
I want to thank the police officer who arrested me in Georgia for changing my life. I want to thank my therapist and my sponsor for saving my life. I want to thank my Honey Boy team for documenting and exhibiting my life. I want to thank my team for being a part of my life.
That same year, he starred in the unexpectedly heartwarming The Peanut Butter Falcon, which earned a 95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. It wasn't as heavy as Honey Boy, but it showed a more grounded, mature Shia, one finally growing into the actor people had always hoped he would become. For a moment, it felt like he'd turned the page, redeemed in an industry famously unforgiving toward comebacks.
For a young man, you've had a long and very strange life.
Yes.
And the movie's great. I wish you the best. I'm glad you're doing so well. Shia LaBeouf, everybody.
But just when it seemed the chaos was finally behind him, another storm was coming. After meeting on the set of Honey Boy in mid-2018, Shia began dating musician FKA Twigs. The relationship seemed to mark a new chapter, a respected artist choosing him at a time when Hollywood was finally welcoming him back. For a moment, it felt like Shia was settling into something stable, and people were happy for him. Then the truth emerged, and the turn was brutal. In December 2020, FKA Twigs filed a lawsuit against him, alleging a pattern of sexual battery, physical violence, and emotional abuse. In the very first lines of the suit, she wrote, "Shia hurts women. He uses them. He abuses them, both physically and mentally. He is dangerous." Twigs alleged that Shia kept her in a constant state of fear and humiliation, once slamming her into a car, another time trying to strangle her, and knowingly transmitting an STD to her. In response, Shia didn't deny anything. Instead, he made a haunting admission. "I have no excuses for my alcoholism or aggression, only rationalizations. I have been abusive to myself and everyone around me for years. I have a history of hurting the people closest to me. I'm ashamed of that history, and I'm sorry to those I hurt." After the lawsuit went public, more allegations followed, including one from pop artist Sia, who had worked with Shia on her song Chandelier.
Sia revealing on Twitter, "I too have been hurt emotionally by Shia, a pathological liar who conned me into an adulterous relationship, claiming to be single. I believe he's very sick and have compassion for him and his victims. Just know if you love yourself, stay safe, stay away."
It didn't stop there. That same month, a video resurfaced from 2015 showing Shia in Germany arguing with his on and off partner, Mia Goth. In the footage, he appeared aggressive, being restrained by bystanders, and as he was driven away, he muttered something chilling.
I gotta get out of here, bro. I gotta get out of here, bro. Yo, if I'd have stayed there, I would have killed her.
This only added more weight to FKA Twigs' allegations and painted an even darker picture of who Shia really was behind closed doors. In the space of a single month, the goodwill he'd been rebuilding completely evaporated. And then, in 2022, came another revelation, one that put yet another stain on his reputation. On John Bernthal's Real Ones podcast, Shia explained that much of Honey Boy, his autobiographical movie, was exaggerated, even fabricated. He admitted that his father, who the film portrayed as violently abusive, was actually very loving despite his struggles with addiction.
Like with my dad, now here's a man who I done vilified on a grand scale. I put all this shit in the street, you know? And used him, juiced my dad as like, this is the reason I'm fucking foul out here. You know, I'm come from this wayward upbringing, and You know, my dad is the reason I'm such a fuck up. You know, he's a biker and a wild man and a criminal and a da-da-da and abusive and I wrote this narrative, which was just fucking nonsense. My dad was so loving to me my whole life. Fractured, sure. Crooked, sure. Like, wonky for sure. But never was not loving. Never was not there. He was always there. He was always there. And I done a world press tour about how fucked he was as a man. Honey Boy is basically like a big woe is me story about how fucked my father is. And I wronged him. And I remember getting on the phone with him and him being like, you know, I never read this stuff in the script you sent, you know, because I didn't put that shit in there, you know. And I was bullshitting him. I was, you know, just trying to get him to sign his fucking piece of paper. He thought I was gonna tell the story like Braveheart.
Honey Boy painted Shia's father as a violent, unstable man who dumped his anger onto his son. But the reality was far more complicated. His dad had flaws, sure, but he wasn't the monster the film suggested. In many ways, he was a positive influence, someone who tried to steer Shia away from trouble whenever he could.
My dad never hit me. Never. He spanked me once. One time. And the story that gets painted in Honey Boy is like this dude was like abusing his kid all the time. You know, my dad tried to keep me from smoking cigarettes. That's when he spanked me. He found me smoking cigarettes in the shower, he pulled me out, he spanked me. That's when he spanked me. But that wasn't my narrative, because it didn't position me as like this wounded, fractured child that you could root for, which is what I was using him for. And so when I got on the phone with him, I took accountability for all that and knew very clearly that I couldn't take it back. You know, my dad was gonna live with this certain narrative about him on a public scale for a very long time, you know, probably the rest of his life. And I done put all this shit in the street, you know?
It had taken dragging his dad's name through the mud for Shia to finally see the good this man had actually brought into his life. And although he went on to make amends with him and help him through his own addictions, the damage was done. The Bernthal interview earned Shia sympathy from some people for how raw and honest he seemed, but for many others, it didn't change a thing. It simply confirmed what they already believed, that Shia was manipulative, abusive, and ultimately out for himself. In the years since, Shia has taken a surprising turn towards spirituality. He's embraced the Catholic faith, a profound conversion that's left many people both intrigued and skeptical. The catalyst for this transformation was his role in the film Padre Pio. Shia found himself drawn into an unexpected spiritual journey. What began as research for a role became something deeply personal. He spent weeks at the San Lorenzo Seminary, studying and living alongside the Capuchin Franciscan friars, immersing himself fully in their faith and way of life.
It just felt like health. It felt like a healing process, more so than a filming process.
That sense of healing helped him navigate the most important chapter of his life, fatherhood. You see, amidst all the controversy he faced in 2020, Shia quietly rekindled his relationship with ex, Mia Goth. And in 2022, they welcomed their first child together. This was shocking for many at the time, but they're still going strong. After Padre Pio, Shia stepped out of the spotlight for a while. His return came in 2024 when he starred in Megalopolis, a film from Francis Ford Coppola, one of the most revered directors in Hollywood history, behind classics like The Godfather. The project had been Coppola's obsession for decades, a $120 million self-funded gamble many hoped would become his final masterpiece. Expectations were enormous, but it didn't go as planned. Despite years of hype and the weight of Coppola's name, Megalopolis landed with a thud, drawing mixed to hostile reviews and collapsing at the box office. And with it, Shia's bid for a mainstream comeback slipped out of reach. Shia LaBeouf's story is one full of extremes. He was a kid who fought his way out of poverty through sheer talent and willpower. And yet, the same fire that fueled his rise burned everything he built around him. For every moment of brilliance, whether it be Transformers, Honey Boy, or the Peanut Butter Falcon, there's been an equal moment of implosion. For every heartfelt confession, a contradiction. And for every redemption arc, a relapse. That's the paradox of Shia LaBeouf, a career defined by chaos and creativity. And after everything that's happened, one question remains. Can people ever trust him again?